right now. This is only for information. Don't do this. Even if you are supervised, it is something to really take forward. So while I cannot give you a faculty,
guys, network break is over. Please come back to your seat. Come to your seat, please. Move the news section.
Okay, good morning everyone. Yes, I gave my introduction, so I'll directly get into the business. So today session I will be taking on SAP. How many of you know what is SAP and why it is used? Yeah, what is SAP? Okay. Any other definitions?
It's a framework that allows you to implement the security best practices as per OWASP on the top and monolithic.
How many of you have tried, downloaded and then tried to integrate in your application? Anybody? Okay, since almost 70 to 80% are not done, this is the right session where I will be showing how to integrate into your application, as well as what is the use of purpose of SAP, what are its roots, how it is spread across. So all those information you can find it in this presentation. I can explain you all those things in this presentation. Okay, to begin with, he is Jeff Williams. He is the author of SAP. In fact, he is CEO of Aspect Security. Aspect Security, anybody knows what is Aspect Security? Actually, they contribute to OWASP community cards. So this person has contributed a lot for SAP. A lot of programs are written by him. And he is the CEO of Aspect Security. He is also contributed for webcode. How many of you have heard webcode? So most of them are his work in webcode. So he is the founder of Aspect Security. He has around 25 years of experience, and again top 10. OWASP top 10. It's one of his work as well. And webcode project. So, why SAP is required? Yes, most of you answered. Along with whatever you answered, I'll just put some more couple of additional points. So this is what I'm explaining is perspective of Jeff Williams. Why he came up with SAP project. What is the need for SAP project? So according to him, he found the developers used to spend a lot of time in providing security solutions. For example, we are, if you are a pen tester or if you are a security analyst, you just give a finding to the developer. Okay, this application, this web application has got cross-site scripting issue. Now what will that person do, developer? Primarily developers, they don't care about security. For them, that is not the bread and butter. Their main concentration is on functionality. They'll be working on functionality and they have a set of codes. Then suddenly if a security guy or during the security testing phase, if he encounters some 10-15 bugs, what would he do? And he has just another 1 week for release. He has to give the product for production. So how would he interpret and how will he solve the security issue? And he has no clue about cross-site scripting. As a security engineer, you have given him a finding. Okay, this application has got cross-site scripting vulnerability, and you are told, okay, it has to be prevented. Do some data validation. So how can he go about and then solve this issue?
First, he will ask the security guy itself.
Okay.
Can you tell me what are low rates that we can apply? Later on, he will Google out like what are the patches like.
So we just suggest, okay, go to OWASP site, download SAP, integrate it, and then you are secured.
I mean, even remediation will be mentioned.
Our remediations are in that format only. Go to this place, download, plug in, and you're done. But it's not that easy. Okay, so that is the major complexity, and if it's a huge ERP, developers tend to spend almost a week to 2 weeks just to figure out what exactly the issue is. And after finding that issue, they might download that application and then try to integrate. That again takes a lot of time. It's just a overhead. So what Jeff thought was, let's help the developers, allow them to be there in the stream. Let us as a security architects come up with an architecture so that they can use it easily. When you have all the libraries available, developers have to just call those APIs. That was his intention. But during the process of me integrating SAP into my web application, it's not easy. It's just not easy. It's not going to the OWASP site, downloading and then integrating into your application. It's not that simple. You encountered a lot of issues. Pretty much what I'm explaining is environmental issues. For example, I downloaded a couple of files in the SAP library and I wanted to integrate into my web application. My web application is a stats-based application. So I will just integrate it. The moment I copied that library and added to my package, it showed me tons of error messages. So many times I hit a hard stop. I thought, okay, I cannot integrate SAP because the dependencies were a lot of other packages. So it is not that easy. So then finally I came up with, it took me almost a couple of weeks to come up with a small web application integrated with SAP, which works for my web application, where I could integrate data validation as well as encoding. So all these things you can reduce for developers if you provide this solution. As of now, as a source code reviewer or security analyst, we just give the developers, okay, this is what you do. We won't help them to implement that. So what really matters is that implementation, not just telling them, okay, OWASP site is there, SAP is there, download that, this is the method name, use it. No, you should be knowing how to implement in an application. That is what differentiates you from a normal security professional. So it is very important to know how it really works in real time, how does it work. So that is what was his vision. Based on that, he came up with these things, and yeah, from complexity of application security for developers. That is what I expect came up. So overall, the takeaway was he wanted to simplify application security for developers. This was his vision. Okay, now what is ISAPI? It's just a security API. Libraries are there. It's an exhaustive list of security controls. He has tried to add as much as possible security controls into it based on common vulnerability database. He has taken around 500 issues which developers normally encounter or which is already registered in CVE. Everybody knows CVE, common vulnerability database. So he has taken that stack, what all the major issues which happen in the web world or an application world, and then he has tried to solve all those issues and come up with this library. So this has got solutions to most of the vulnerabilities we have. So the first version he released was in August 2010, which has 120 methods and interfaces. And his concentration was, this API was more on web application security and web services as well. Web services, everybody has any understanding. So ISAPI supports web services as well as web applications. So the common issues which occur in these areas, solutions you can find in ISAPI. Yeah. What do you mean by result? Web services, right? Okay. What next? It is not. See, soap-based vulnerabilities will be there. Wisdom file is the point of contact. You will be writing your methods over there. Implemented in the program. See, for example, in the Wisdom file you have a method called pay. So inside pay you need to implement this. Does that answer your question? Okay. Now, how ISAPI has, where all ISAPI has it present, in what technologies ISAPI is written. So, what footprints and how vast it is. So, ISAPI is there in all these languages. ISAPI, they have written in J2E. For JavaScript applications, there is a ISAPI solution. And for PHP, there is a separate module for PHP and separate program, which is the red ones are not yet started, but yet to start. But they have plans for all those things as well. So Python, Objective-C, Swingset, ASP, .NET. So all these places, ISAPI for all these technologies, ISAPI module is available, ready to download and then use as part of your application. ISAPI libraries, I'll be taking through only J2E ISAPI because that is matured library compared to other languages. This was started very early and then it is very matured as of now. So these are the packages which is available in ISAPI. There is an authenticator, user, access controller. So these are the packages. For example, if you want to do validation, then you might have to use validator package. So validator has got certain methods. Okay, check for match then, check for whether the information is proper or not. All those things is there in validator. So encryptor, all those things. Okay, ISAPI is it's not came up out of a blue moon. Already a lot of technologies were there. So when Jeff Williams came up with this ISAPI package, when he wanted to put all things together, he borrowed from packages from already available open sources. Like Jakarta Commons was already running, or already was there, so he picked up that all best practices packages which was available as open source in the internet. So he took all those packages. For log4j also he took that package. So similar kind of things he took, and then came up with this package. So ISAPI has got Spring Security, Java Logging, Adobe Commons File Upload, Java Cryptography Extension, Microsoft Anti-XSS, and then Apache Commons for Validator. All these are there as part of
These libraries are actually the underlying implementations of this.
So it's not he to his own generated it. These projects were all already going on and developers were using from quite long time. So those best practices he took and then integrated in one place. Now let us come to OWASP. So what all solution does ISAPI provide? In fact, there is a one-to-one mapping. This OWASP top 10 list is pretty old, I guess. But almost all the lists are there. So I didn't get any image where it corresponds to the solution part. So for XSS, you'll be using this validator and encoder class, which I earlier showed the packages. And any injection cross, you can use encoder. So encoder is the class which has got solutions for all the issues where you encounter for injection cross. Like it could be XSS injection, other kind of injection. So for all injection kind of attack, encoder is the class. It has got set of methods where you can go use that method to solve that issue. Similarly, malicious file execution, there is a class called HTTP utilities. Under that HTTP utilities, there are so many methods which you can use. Insecure direct object reference, you have access controller class. CSRF, you have a class called user, where it checks for CSRF tokens. You can create those tokens and it could be validated.
So can we say explicitly like to the developers for this you should use this class like that?
Exactly. Server-side validation. So all these are server-side validation. This package is primarily meant for server-side validation. So client-side validation, you should be using ES API JavaScript. That is a separate bundle which you get for client-side. You need to use that for client-side validation, which resolves like DOM-based XSS. So broken authentication and sessions, insecure communications, again failure to restrict user access control. Any questions here? Okay, just getting into the packages stuff. ISAPI has got following packages: crypto, validation, filter, and wrap. This is more internals of ISAPI, how exactly it is package. Exactly. So for SQL injection, you will be using all these formats. DB2. This is specific for. In fact, they have so many classes which is specific for databases. For example, if you are using the MySQL database, there is a separate class called MySQL. In that, certain methods are there, which is customized for that database. You should be using MySQL, or there is a class called Oracle. If you are using Oracle database, you can use methods of the class. So it is customized for databases because each databases interpret certain special characters in a different way. That is the reason they have customized for each database. If you have a new database, in fact, you can write your template or your class and then use it. That is also you can do. It is open source. You have the complete source with you. You can customize as and when you want. That's what I told you, no, they have taken almost 500 cases from the CV, common vulnerability databases, and they have found solution in all the places, taken the solution and created one library, so that the developers, for them it is easy to configure those solution and then close that issue. In a way, it will be easy for a security analyst also to tell the developers, okay, use this package, this is the place where you need to go, and then do it. In fact, I would suggest security pen testers or they download this, work with this, and then suggest them, because it has got a lot of other environmental issues.
How will it easy to say like many times the defenses will get already available? Not that security is being implemented at the starting, but security will be implemented as a part of like part of complex environment saying that we need a pen test and they are not taking care of it. How easy is it to integrate with specific package out of the
I'll be going through a demo, you know how easy or difficult it is.
okay, on what are the issues that we can encounter just
You do encounter a lot of issues. But yeah, you should, if the person who gives suggestion, if he knows all those things, it will be pretty simple. I can see if I know, if I have encountered all these things, all the issues, I can help you in a day. I can configure this application to your web application within a day. Otherwise, it will take a couple of weeks or even months. So, my primary concern is we, as a security testers, we just give the developers, okay, yeah, this is what you need to implement, but we don't give the actual solution. It is just, we are just suggesting them, but that is not execution. You need to, your work ends when that particular attack does not happen. So what you have to do, you have to give them the code solutions, what you have to write, what APIs you need to call, and how do you implement in your application. That is very important. So unless you have no idea how it is implemented, how it works, you cannot give a good solution. It is just a
and in case where source code is not
so source code is not required. See, you know XSS issue. This is the issue. These are the ways to integrate the security solution. So it may not be required source code. You can still advise them how to integrate. But once you start advising, they will come up with the source code issue. Because they have no other way. Otherwise, it will take them at least 2-3 weeks to understand what exactly and then integrate. But instead, they'll be, it's better to go to you only and then tell, okay, this is my source code, now help me how to integrate it. So if you know these techniques, you can finish it in one day. Otherwise, if you tell them, it will take a couple of weeks or maybe months. And sometimes it is that fact as it is, because business takes the priority. Okay, how does it work better? See, this is, all the solutions are there, but you as a security architect, you need to come up with an architecture. For example, if you are a security architect for a company, take this and see what all issues are there in your web application or your enterprise and modify this architecture and then give this packages to the developers to improve. So it is not it should be customized. That's what he says. Even the author says it should be customized to your needs. Don't use it whatever is available. There are so many features are available, good features are available, some are not available. So you need to tweak it and then change this particular package and then use it according to your needs and necessities. Okay, my observation, I've been doing a lot of code review and there are a lot of other packages also available. In fact, we also have separate architecture, security architecture. So the difference I found in this is there is a feature called dynamic initialization where you take a particular variable, it will clean up. For example, you have a request, you are passing an attribute. It will just trim the empty spaces and then verify whether there is any special characters, or there could be people, I mean, there are few hackers who give gaps in between, try to do various things. So this canonicalization would help to trim the white spaces and then verify for the actual text and verify special characters in that. So encoding module is very mature. Data validation response can be improved by Spring validation framework. This is, I'll come to this. You have an error, but how do you put it back to the user? There is a slight difficulty in that. It finds it perfectly, but difficulty in putting it back to the screen. And then HTTP header and cookie validations are good. Client-side JavaScript SAP is not part of this module. It would have been great even JavaScript also is part of SAP, but anyways it is a client-side code. It's available separately and you need to deal with it separately. CSF, there is a CSRF module, but I'm not sure whether it is part of CSRF guard. There is another OWASP project. I'm not sure if both are same. So some of my observations. Okay, setup. It's just a two-step setup. One is you need to download the sysapi.jar. So I'll be giving a demo on J2E application, a small web application written in Struts. For that, how to integrate SAP. So it's just a two-step integration. One is take the jar, add it to your library. Second is create a custom SAP for your text. This is a copy paste mistake. Please don't consider this name. What I'm going to tell is add these two files under this folder, source SASE folder. So you get these three files. You can go to isapi.wasp.isapi.com, download the binaries. It has got a lot of binaries. You just isapi.jar if you want to integrate into your application. And next thing is create a custom, and you will be having a source folder. Under source folder, you have to add those two properties. So your integration is done. So how do you do data validation? Your JSP should have the following things. So one is include these two libraries. This is the way to call the developer. So you should be telling the developers, okay, integrate into these two libraries, and this is the way to do the validation. And this node root should be made clear, which is the forward line, which I'll make it clear. I use Eclipse for my development. I've already integrated Struts and Tomcat application for this. I'll just run the server. So this is my application. This is the sample registration page. Now let's see how good this page is, how secure it is. Okay, now a basic cross-site scripting. I want to check whether this particular page is secure or not. So, any hackers, what would you try first? SQL injection. I have not connected to database. Yeah, any. Script. Okay, let us see whether it will. So cross-site scripting. So you are getting alert. So the application is vulnerable. Now we'll use ISAPI package and try to sanitize this and then try to attack. Earlier I had uncommented, I commented, now I'll just uncomment it. So these are the ISAPI encoders which I am applying it to it. Now let's see whether the cross-site scripting works as same as it did earlier. That is good. Script. Okay. And now it is back to the same page. It is not allowing actually. No, yeah, this would be more clear. So now I'll give the script tag and let's see how it has interpreted this script tag. Okay. And then here some special characters. Here some special characters. Okay, now I just say submit. See, it did not execute this one. It sanitized it. What it is doing is it is just encoding it automatically. So the alert would not come. It does not execute the script. So it takes care of it. So this is normal encoding part. Now let's see any other queries here. So all the special characters it is taking care. All the special characters is converted into encoding. Any other way you want to attack? I think it's not audible. Can you be a little louder? Yeah. I'm not writing. Yeah. See, maybe let me take you to the code. This is G4H. For JavaScript, you need to do something. This is what I'm doing is server-side encoding, not client-side. So here, see, if you see, these are the values which I'm fetching from my browser. So these are the values which I'm fetching. So if I don't apply this, we are able to do cross-site scripting issues. We are able to do a cross-site scripting injection. So this is a simple encoder. So you are taking whatever the information is here, whatever you get from the browser, and doing encoding it, and then you are using it. So if I remove this piece of line, you're not doing anything and then directly using it. So that's how the attack happens. So simple, you have to just use that library, encode for HTML, and you're done. So this is what you need to tell your developers, not just telling them, okay, SAP library is there, please use it.
So how is it different from using HTML encode function which is already part of standard Java library?
HTML?
Encode.
See, this is all reused, it is not something different. It is everything put in one place.
And you are saying let's guide this to the developer, right?
Yeah.
Developer
To
will
guide
ask
this
you-
to developers how to use it rather than just telling, okay, this is the solution.
The developer is definitely going to ask you, why should I use an external library when I already have a pretty good function to do the encoding?
I mean, you're free to use. No issues. If they already know, there is no problem. But all the solutions they won't be knowing. There are a lot of times it takes, for example, integrating SAP, they would not be knowing. At
This
least
is what my question is. For this particular use case,
Okay.
why is this better? This is this way better than just using HTML encode. This is a library. This can be included in any Java app. That's not a problem. The question is why use this instead of that?
yeah, the advantages of using this is all the solution in one place. See, for example, you want to do log escaping in the log. So this module is there. Data validation you want to do, you can use this module. So all the solution is in one place. Why do you want to go in all the places and get it? For example, HTML encoding, if you use it for some other issue, you might have to come up with some other thing. So all the solution is in one place. That is one advantage. Apart from that, as you said, it is same thing. Nothing different. The advantage is it is in one place. As of now, I could think of it.
Taking the input and directly encoding instead of
Where is it?
break some functionality because the encoding is just encode it goes to the output to the rest of the architecture.
That depends on.
For example,
You cannot break. Why?
you want to take
Yeah, you have a point. Yeah, you need to take care of that.
and put it in some XML file. So you can put the percentage UC or something instead of the literal sign. So the XML
See, your point is valid. You need to use this wherever it is required. I have used it here because I find there is no issues. If I am using XML, I would be using after the XML processing is done and when it is putting it back to the screen. At that time, I might use this encoding. You getting my point?
that is like you do like the second step which you have done like validation. You do that first and then you inject the practice and for everybody.
It's up to you how you want to do. You can use this package wherever you want. I've used it initially. If I had an XML or other places where if I process, encode it and then send it to XML, it might break. At that time, I will be using it later.
For example, you want to strip the percentage calculus.
Okay.
You will strip it first and then include the or you will encode and everything and
So here for encoding there is no stripping happening.
yeah.
It's just converting it to a different format.
Yes, but the stripping should happen before encoding. That's what it is. The stripping of specific characters, the validation part.
So it is like, for example, if you are taking the parameters, storing in database, and from database you are taking back and then putting in the browser. What he is saying is, when you take, currently what you are doing is you are taking the parameters and you are encoding it. What he is trying to say is, it is good to encode when you actually outputting to the browser.
Yeah.
So you, I think that is good, right?
Yes, that is most of the cases. Like I have seen that it is done like that.
Yeah.
That is the reason we consultants don't go on the code level implementation. We always speak the generic one because at code level we don't know where he has,
See, that is the whole point of my presentation. Just giving suggestion doesn't serve the purpose because they won't be able to implement it whatever.
But this also is suggestion. Some of the purpose depends on business realities.
That's what, I mean, this works, right? This works perfectly fine.
It works for security. For a lot of businesses, performance is also an issue. If it decreases performance, they will not use the solution. So which is I'm saying you need to qualify the statement that for security this will work.
Yeah, obviously.
My only point was
It's not obvious.
Yeah, it is obvious because this is for security.
All the people here who are asking questions that are different should tell you it's not obvious.
my only point was in general practice we should not go where and directly encode whatever they are saying. Why not bring their functionality sometimes? Most of the time.
Again,
Then
then
try
most
and
is
say-
so subjective, man.
Hey,
Why
one
do people talk like?
Hey, one more thing. This is, I'm not telling you to encode here. This is the way it is done.
This is a demo. That's what he's saying.
See, encoding, it is encoding case by case. It will depend. It will differ where you have to encode. See here, for example, I can do encoding over here, or I can do encoding directly here. For example, if I am fetching value from the data now, I can use the same encoding parameters here, but that you need to decide as a security analyst where exactly you need to put the encoding piece. I am showing how what package, what
Again, then most is so subjective, man.
Hey,
Why
one
do people talk like?
Hey, one more thing. This is, I'm not telling you to encode here. This is the way it is done.
This is a demo. That's what he's saying.
See, encoding, it is encoding case by case. It will depend. It will differ where you have to encode. See here, for example, I can do encoding over here, or I can do encoding directly here. For example, if I am fetching value from the data now, I can use the same encoding parameters here, but that you need to decide as a security analyst where exactly you need to put the encoding piece. I am showing how what package, what
Subjective, man. Why do people talk like?
Hey, one more thing. This is, I'm not telling you to encode here. This is the way it is done.
This is a demo. That's what he's saying.
See, encoding, it is encoding case by case. It will depend. It will differ where you have to encode. See here, for example, I can do encoding over here, or I can do encoding directly here. For example, if I am fetching value from the data, I can use the same encoding parameters here, but that you need to decide as a security analyst where exactly you need to put the encoding piece. I am showing how what package,
Subjective, man.
Hey, one more thing. This is, I'm not telling you to encode here. This is the way it is done.
This is a demo. That's what he's saying.
See, encoding, it is encoding case by case. It will depend. It will differ where you have to encode. See here, for example, I can do encoding over here, or I can do encoding directly here. For example, if I am fetching value from the data, I can use the same encoding parameters here, but you need to decide as a security analyst where exactly you need to put the encoding piece. I am showing how for example, I can do encoding over here, or I can do encoding directly here. For example, if I am fetching value from the data, I can use the same encoding parameters here, but you need to decide as a security analyst where exactly you need to put the encoding piece. I am showing case by case. It will depend. It will differ where you have to encode. See here, for example, to allow that can be configured here. What characters it has to allow that can be configured here. What characters it has to allow that can be configured here. What characters it has to allow that can be configured
That's how it works.
fact, it has got Thanksgiving, which
Feedback accepted.
no, but how he is related? OWASP is it is very just converts. In fact, good morning everyone. Yes, again I expect and advocate for the business. Today, session I will be taking on exactly how many of you I've done this related coding as well as data validation. I'll be doing further for all the complex. But right now I think
Feedback accepted.
no, but how he is related? OWASP is a very just converts. In fact, good morning everyone. Yes, again I expect and advocate for the business. Today, session I will be taking on exactly how many of you
Feedback accepted.
no, but how he is related? OWASP is a very
Which service maximum minimum can? Your plugin is not set up on. Why is it saying we do this? The server which service maximum minimum can? Your plugin is not set up on. Why is it saying we do this? The server which service maximum minimum can? Your plugin is not set up on.
in my the thing is, Kali is too slow. I don't know. I hope it works.
We have videos.
Yeah, we record the before and but in between the introduces a lot of noise. At the end of it. Yeah, it is.
It's 19. Yeah, it was 19.
project now. Okay.
Next talk is by Prashant on browser exploitation framework. Lead.
Hi guys, shall we start off? Right, I'm Prashant. I work for Infosys as a security consultant, and so today my talk will be on the browser exploit framework. So let's go through the ritual. So what is brief? So this is picked right from their homepage, so it doesn't really make sense. So you need all of you know what an XSS vulnerability is, right? So when you have an XSS vulnerability, what are the ways that you can exploit it? Okay, so when you do a pen testing, most of us we focus on the server side. So how to get the server root and all that. So your client is as vulnerable as your server. So probably they don't have much to give to the hacker, but still, so they are as vulnerable. So to test that, what do you call that? So test the level of security on the client side. So we use the browser exploit framework. Alright. So right. The first mandatory thing that you require for what do you call it, to use the browser exploit framework is an XSS. Okay, you have an XSS in one of the websites, one of the pages, and then what you do is you hook your browser to the B framework. Okay, so I had an animation, but that's not working. So what happens here is, so this is your B owner, you're the attacker. Okay, so you have the B server running on one of your say Linux box. Okay. So you will be able to connect to this file Linux box to your web code, sorry, the browser. And when you return visit one of the XSS, executes one of the XSS vulnerabilities, what happens is a JS file, a JavaScript file, it goes and resides on the.
Sorry, this light stream is not good.
No, sorry. You can hear the voice though, right? Is it okay if I sit here and explain? Okay, so like I said, a JS file goes and resides on the written browser. Okay, and the B server, it keeps pulling, so it keeps sending messages frequently saying this is the command you have to execute. Okay, so that command comes from the attacker. Okay, so the attacker says, okay, I have these hooked browsers. Now send this particular command to a mobile device. So a mobile device, probably if it is vulnerable to voice recording, so you will be even able to capture what the person is talking about. Okay, so a spyware, spy gadget. Let's go to the UI overview. So we'll be seeing a lot of demos, so actually you should be pretty familiar with it. So yeah, let's start from the beginning. Alright, so first I'll tell you how to start a beef server. Okay, this is a Kali Linux box. Okay, so I have beef running here. So it is available in the folder user share beef-xss by default. Okay, so you might want to upgrade it so that you get the latest modules. right? So go there and you use dot slash d hyphen x. The hyphen x makes sure that your previous session is clear. Okay, if you don't use hyphen x, so it's going to show all the previously hooked browsers as well, so which might confuse you or doesn't look good. Let's wait for it to start. Okay, so our B server is started. It's to clear the previous hooked browser and the logs. Start fresh. Okay, if you see, there are a few things here. So this is the hook URL. So this is if you have found an XSS vulnerability and you want to exploit it, you may want to send a script tag with the JS file loaded on, so that it gets loaded on the victim's browser. Okay, and this is the UI panel. So this is the box on which this is the box that the hacker has control of. So it's basically a UI to interact with the victim, right? And right, so that's enough for now. I'll explain rest later. Right. So we are going to this URL. We just copy this. I was hoping this wouldn't happen. It's too slow. Tally is not responding. The each server is not responding. Any suggestions? I've given it enough. No, it's not happening yet. वो भी कम नहीं मिलेगा. अभी having this problem in the changes. नहीं, first देगा, ये तो तभी नहीं रहेगा क्या?
हाँ, एक मॉडल है.
क्या?
मतलब just do it off on your machine. What is blocking your
Proxy server refusing connections.
No, this is different. No, this.
What do you do?
Proxy is on my machine. It's on Kali. This is on Kali. No, it's up. Okay. Alright, so this is the UI that you get first. So now all you have to do is you have to wait for the victim. Okay, so Beef has some example pages which gets hooked automatically. Okay, so here's one. So there, I don't know the difference between the basic and the advanced page because I never go to the advanced page. I'll show you why. It started again. They closed me.
Is it listening on that? No.
Yeah, I mean, now it's closed. It was listening.
You know, really good hardware investment is to buy an SSD.
Yeah.
What is it?
Like the days that you give in time of life.
What is it?
Solid state drive.
Okay. Hopeless, yeah. This is my machine. I'm trying to connect to the Beats server.
Oh, BK.
Signal like
Oh shit. Next time
try on
BK. VIP इसका.
was back. It's working, but it's too slow.
It's not a ramping. Okay, it is fine. How do you get the network in? Okay. But it's listening on that, okay? You can just open this. What is the IP of this?
No, it's available on that document.
Which is your browser? Open this in your browser. Don't try to run this here. Yeah. Copy it.
Fine, but
And
I can do anything.
can you There's no proxy settings?
No.
You don't have a system proxy?
No, it was looking in my class. Now showing me the model.
No, Gmail will be there. How does that happen? Your machine is slow. Goes to us. You see that? Why is that not responding?
Was okay till that time.
How much RAM do you have stored?
No. I think 4.
Whether तो मैं 1.5 की यूज़ कर लिया
वो भी हो सकता है
और विंडोज एक्सपी भी चल रहा है
रेडी एंड ये भी चल रहा है वो भी
काली को रिस्टार्ट कर विद
यस सर
i12 plus 128 कितना होगा? Total 800 MB RAM. And how much RAM does this have? Run this for 250. Yeah, see, more than half of your RAM is like gone. इसको run with 256.
the same time so now
No, that's okay. इसको run your Windows XP with 256. We don't really care if fast or slow. And उसको 800 MB run.
2 minutes आएगा
Site delay, not enough RAM.
You guys want to start from time to decide until we all the after the setup. Please go ahead, like you can ask questions like to any of the people here, like among yourselves. If you have any burning topic that you want to discuss.
yes seems good fun
What experience have you?
Right, seems to be better now. Okay, it works now. Alright. Sorry for the technical snag. I'll make sure I'll edit it and drop on YouTube.
Just get more RAM.
Okay. Right, so we were on this login for the example page. Okay. Not again. Okay, so this is why I don't like it. Okay, so this is the advanced page. I don't know why it is advanced. And so this will be your. So if you see, so since the hook.js is already loaded onto this tab, so you can see that the browser appears now. Okay, so this is your this is one of your browsers. Okay, so when a browser is hooked, so it comes under the online browsers tab. Okay, and when it loses focus, or when the JS file ceases to exist in the browser's context, then it comes back to the offline browsers section. Okay, so these are the multiple options that you have to perform on the target. Okay, so I have a slide. I'm not going by that. Let me see if I'm missing anything. Okay, so I'm just splitting it into multiple sections. So information gathering, network discovery, social engineering, exploit and persistence. Okay, so we'll be covering all this. So I've listed down a few modules for each of these sections. Okay, so I won't be going through these slides. It's just for later reference on when we upload it. Okay. All right. So what now? Okay. First I got the hook browser. Let me not hook it on the same browser. Let me hook it on a different browser. So that okay. So now I have DBWA running. Okay. So now I know that there is an XSS on this box. Okay. How do I add it? So I just add a script. What was the IP? 56 103 101. Okay, now I should be getting the browser here. It takes time. Yeah. Very sorry. Windows Works. Windows Works. No, इसका IP ठीक है ना? नहीं, I tried that example page. ये जो है ना, ये try किया ना. Yeah, that's okay. It's not the product. The beep itself is the framework is fine. Where? You can see that only after you enable it, no?
Before you execute this, you start your network.
It's getting the root.ks. It's not working here.
It's working on that. This is B, this is
What goes for the Mac?
BBW.
Oh, it's not here. Yeah.
Working? Oh, that's it.
Okay, so this is the basic example page. Okay, so I'm sorry. Okay, let's continue from here. I hope there's no other problem. Okay, so if you see the hook browser, so you will get a lot of information over here. Okay, so you will know what is the browser. I mean, if it's possible to find out, you will know the browser version. So what is the user agent string, and even OS fingerprinting to an extent will be done. So if you see the icon here, it will find it has found out. I mean, it could not find out the version. Okay, but it has found out what browser it is.
and what OS it is and all.
This is my basement in the Mac OS.
Right, so that is why you hope.
Okay,
That's the vector. Okay, so in this case, the first and the last part of the network diagram is the same. Okay, so I hope you understand that. Right. Okay, now let me just try to execute some design.
On the base machine? On my Mac? What are you doing on
I'm not going to explain anything.
No, I don't XP.
It's the XP, no? So that people will learn how to do that. Especially if you are using
Just go to the from here.
Okay, so
192, 168.
192, 168.
56.
168.
162, like this. Copy. So copy will not go. 102, 3000 divided by 9. 102, 3000.
What do I do here?
Sorry, one more place. I don't want my base machine to pass by anyone.
Okay, so go to the function. How do we do that? How do we do that? The other method. Just a check.
चालू करना है
नहीं कैसे यार
एक काम कर तू बोल और वो करे
हाँ वही
Okay.
Go back to that part. Firefox.
Go to Firefox. This is Windows. That is my base.
No, the base machine.
Yeah.
Log in again.
Yeah, it's showing.
So you have the root browser
Now
here.
we did that.
Okay.
Now the Windows is hooked. How do you hook it? No.
That's what I opened the example page. No? The example
Okay.
page is program will be hook.js file. Okay, so when you have an XSS, okay. So does everybody understand until this? Too much confusion. Okay. So basically what happens is, so you have to get that hook.js JavaScript file onto your vector. So that you achieve by either exploiting an XSS or embedding that JS file onto a malicious page. Okay, so that's what you're going to do. So once that hook.js is loaded, it's going to start communicating to your deep server. Okay, so it's like a CNC, command and control center. Okay, so so now I've hooked this browser 56.101. Okay, the victim is the Windows box.
Yeah, we do.
Right. Okay, so I go commands. Okay, what I'm trying to do now is I'm going to try to tell you that I can send any JavaScript code or any other instruction which can be executed by JavaScript onto my victim. Okay, now I'll try to create a alert box. Okay. Here,
Do the create alert here. Aram se.
okay, so this is the alert box. I'll just say null meet and then execute. Okay, so now you get a status here. So if there is a result to be fetched from the browser, you can see it here. Okay, like if you want to know the local IP address and all that. How will I do that?
Use that or the control.
Okay. See, so I'll send a alert box and that is executed on the victim. Okay. So similarly, I can do a lot of other things. So this is only on what now. Yeah.
Can you explain the technique for process? How do you?
Okay.
So the beat actually gives you two URLs. One for control panel, where this is the control panel where you log in and you can see all the dashboard and all. The second is the book URL which you need to embed in your external payload.
Book URL is my application all the external they don't have a gateway URL.
Yes, so
Exactly.
that URL is actually having, let's say, a P payload which will execute in your browser and that will connect to the P command and control. So what he used is, he used the accesses vulnerable parameter where he included script src as that JS file and send it to victim. Victim clicked in his browser. Now the browser had executed that JavaScript from the P, which is hook.js, and now it is connected to the command control.
Yes. That, yeah, that's what I've also been trying to tell.
It will be more clear if you show them the the packet of a Git where you can see the two links. Command line trail.
It's Kali, right?
Sorry, yeah. So
See, here, when you start these, so you get a couple of URLs here. Okay, so based on whatever interfaces are there in your system, so Beep automatically detects that and it gives you the URLs here. Okay, so this is the hook.js. This is the JavaScript file that you have to embed on your victim, embed in your victim's page. Okay, so like I said, it could be either a malicious page that's loading this, or it could be an XSS which is being exploited by someone else. Okay, so here you also get the status. So, okay, so whenever you execute one command or when a browser is getting hooked, you will get the status here. See, you can see the new hook browser. So this is the IP of it, and a few other details related to that victim. Okay, so you can do a lot of other things as well. So you can get a cookie, of course. So due to the same origin policy, you can only get the cookie of the domain that is hooked in. Okay, so if you are going to exploit vulnerability on some travel site, so whatever is the session that is set by that particular page can be got using this module. Okay, so and then you can change the href. So you can change all the links on that page so that it always redirects to a particular malicious page. Okay, and from there probably if you want you can redirect to the actual page. So you always have a you're able to intercept everything that the user is doing. Okay, so there is also if you go into the logs. Okay, now. So this is my victim. I'm just going to make some clicks here and there, and then I'm going to select it and all. Okay, and example, go Control C. I'm just performing some events there. Okay, so when I come back, it's supposed to show what all happened. So basically you can record any event that is being performed on that page. So if you're typing in a user ID and a password on a hook page, so you can even get those, it can act as a keylogger to get you all that information. Right. Okay. Yes, so we'll come to that. Okay, I wanted to cover a couple of more modules, but we don't have time, so I'll skip to Metasploit. क्या हुआ?
As a security professional, your lack of knowledge in the Mac domain is like,
I don't know.
we cannot afford that knowledge.
Mac VMs are also there.
We are too lazy to run that.
Canada.
Another one is where he runs the active version. He runs the installer of his mobile phone.
point of database connected to MySQL?
Why don't you demonstrate this tunneling proxy? Tunneling proxy, but due to the same origin policy, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. It will say that request has been submitted, but it cannot retrieve the response. Because your browser cannot submit on behalf of some other domain. It used to work. It used to be really nice. But now it doesn't. Yes. Okay, so I'm going to load MS. I have to go back to my slide before we do that.
This slide.
And this side. Can we do it next time?
Leave the slides. No, he will leave the slides. I am.
Send it to you on your Gmail.
Yeah. So, presenter, guys, presenter is requesting for a resession for this. What do you suggest?
Yeah, we will have it. No, I suggest only if you want to make a video, sir. And then, yeah.
Okay, I'll do that.
We have 10 minutes. Do you want to do something right now? I'll
No,
open
that's
the video.
Those are demos, what is working and
Yeah.
it's easier to explain the video also, right? It's easier to explain, you can pause the video.
It will be better if I do it.
10 मिनट में वोटिंग यूज करो यार. Explain, use the board, explain.
At least go through the PPT and explain what you wanted to do. And then we will do it next time.
What will be that?
The practical. Yeah, no, it is.
Okay, we have no choice but to just go with the slides. Okay, so the information gathering, when you see, you can do some kind of browser fingerprinting. That is, you can find out what kind of browser you're using, the user agent, and what are the plugins that are installed. So what version of Java, if it is using, which version it is, and all that. Okay, And when I say host fingerprinting, you can even try to get the internal IP of that particular machine. So if it is NATed, so you won't usually get the internal IP address. But in this case, what you can do is you can load an applet. So applets have access to get your internal IP addresses, right? So you can use the applet and get the applet to send you back the information. Of course, so there will be a notification where the user will be prompted, this site uses Java, do you want to really run it and all that. So that's all social engineering, and once that's done, so you will be able to send any Java applet out to the victim so that you can get a lot of information from it.
So
Okay.
the applets are those kind of applets are available already in this network or it is
It's available. It's available. So for the specific things like what do you call it? So like I said, so getting the IP addresses. Okay, so that is available. So you can do a ping sweep. Okay, so a few of the modules are available. Okay, and yeah, network discovery. Like I said, so ping sweep, internal IP address, and then there is a module for DNS enumeration. Okay, and so it uses JavaScript can be used for one a very basic level of port scanning as well. It just tries to connect to that port and analyzes the response or how much time it takes for the response to come back, and based on that it will decide whether, I mean, it will kind of give you an indication of which ports are open inside that network. Okay, and yeah, so there is a beautiful concept called NAT pinning. I want to I'll show it next time if possible. A demo is not possible on that, but let me see if I can explain it with a picture if I have time. Okay. So social engineering. So this is one of the most important features of the B framework. Okay. So you can prompt a fake login page. So like just like you have a Facebook. Sometimes what happens is when you're logged into Facebook. You're getting logged out, you get a kind of a small pop-up wherein it asks you for the credentials. Right, so you can simulate that on this page, so, and say that and make it look like basically phishing. Okay, so you can get the username and the password to be entered by the victim, and you will get it on your beef server. Okay. And redirect. Okay, so there is no point in doing this, because once you redirect the victim to some other site, you're losing control of that browser, because the root.js file gets unloaded, and then you will lose control of the victim. Okay, so there is no point in doing it, but there are cases where you might want to. Okay, and there is a module called embed iframe. Say for example you have a Metasploit module. Okay, like last month Rupam showed one example. So when he was what was that? MS10?
MS10 046.
Yeah. So,
Daily regeneration.
yeah. So that Metasploit module cannot be integrated onto the beef. At least I didn't see any module that was available. So what you can do is you can generate that URL using Metasploit and then embed that URL as a iframe onto your victim. So what happens is basically you are trying to load the same URL on the browser, and the browser will, if it is vulnerable, will give you a reverse meta penetration. Okay, and it's okay. So you can capture pictures of if the victim has a webcam, okay, and you can use Flash to get the images. Okay, but now Flash prompts you whether you want to allow this website to gather that information or not. Gather information in the sense allow to access to the camera or the mic. Okay, so in those cases you can use some kind of social engineering to make the victim click on OK. Okay, so modules like that are available. So it will prompt a bot saying this site uses so and so version of Flash, and you have to enable it for it to work properly. And then you make the user click on OK, and then you allow to access to the webcam and the microphone of that victim. Okay. Okay, click jacking assist connecting this. Okay. So PIF has a lot of CSR device specific CSR modules. Say for example you have a home router, right? So this is the scenario. Okay, so this is the internet. Okay, so your field server is flat. So field server is flat. So your victim is inside the netted router. Okay, so say this is a D-link, okay, the D-link server, sorry, D-link router. Okay, and you have Internet Explorer. Okay, so when the victim visits the malicious payload, you close the malicious payload on the Internet Explorer. So you might try to send one module that will change the username and the password of the, or make it available on the internet, expose it directly. You have something called DMZ. Okay, so you can add the host that has this as the victim onto the internet using DMZ. Okay, so you have a module. There will be a module inside the so there will be a page on your configuration page that would let some netted IP to be exposed onto the internet. Okay? So say this is having some particular response and this is having the IP address from 1.1. So the module, what it will do is, so most of the home routers, what authentication mechanism that you use for the configuration page? Basic one. Okay, so when you're using basic one, you can embed the username and the password as a part of the request. Okay, using the symbol. Right? So all you have to do is draft a URL so that this system, so you already have the internal IP address. Okay, so you have including the Java module that I told you about. So you got this IP address. So you craft the URL in such a way that if your D-link router lets the system be exposed onto the internet. Okay, so that's one of the cases or one of the scenarios. Okay. So similarly, there are this very specific to a lot of router models. Even an IP webcam can be exposed onto the internet. Okay, so we are left with Metasploit integration, tunneling proxy, and API is a very cool feature. So, like I said, first you get the internal IP address, and then you choose which module to execute on the victim later, and all that. So you can write a script that will you can let the script decide, okay, if my victim is going to be Internet Explorer, send this module so that I get a version. Okay, if it's going to be a Firefox, try a different mechanism, things like that. So you can write a script that will automatically execute, and you can do things in a shorter span, because you don't know for how long your browser is going to, your victim is going to be hooked onto the deep server, because once he realizes that this is a malicious page, he's going to close it. Okay, so there is a way for persistence as well. Sorry, no that. Thank you, and very sorry for the very horrible session.
I know feedback is at the end, but how many of you want a Hamla on beef? Because I personally want a Hamla on So I'll talk to you personally and I will take all your feedback.
Can do that. I think that will be better than explaining it on.
Yes, let's do that. And next talk is by Abhi Banerjee on Flash-based accesses. Abhi, please.
क्या हुआ?
You want to play around with the demo that Satish gave, right? This is the URL, you can check out the book. Actually, a war file, you upload the code separately, you code starting state. But if you're comfortable with Tomcat first, you just need to deploy the people are complaining about the sound not being there for the live stream.
अभी? No, that's all. Not many are here. After we will be towards the doctor.
Good afternoon, people. First of all, apologies for coming late. Although I was 5 minutes earlier, Global had already announced that the talk has been shifted to the last section. So today we are going to discuss some test cases on exploiting Flash applications. First of all, to introduce myself, I am Abhi Banerjee. I am a penetration tester. I've been spending time in web application security for a long time. I've worked on mobile and wireless environments also. Let's go ahead with this. So some part of the presentation, some of them are my original work, some of them are references from different sources. So I just listed down them here. So what is Flash? When Flash was not there, we had just static and dynamic pages. So with the entry of Flash, we started having a lot of power being given to the web platform, like in form of games, in form of applications, in form of rich internet applications. Now you have two things. One is Flash and one is Flex. Now both are almost Flex is nothing but a cousin of Flash with the same thing, but it uses ActionScript version 3. So the scripting engine in Flash is called as ActionScript. You have ActionScript version 2 and version 3. So here now browsers are using SWF files, many devices. As long as browsers are using it, SWF would not be going anywhere and Flash would not be going anywhere. Patches, the loopholes are fixed, but the problem is majority of flaws still exist because of insecure programming. Till today, the way the ActionScript 2 or ActionScript 3 is used, the developers are not aware which methods to use, which functions to use, how to program it, how to sanitize it. You will still find these vulnerabilities in today's applications working in today's browsers using latest version of Flash as well. So you can see here that these are the latest vulnerabilities on Flash 2014 from CVE Gators. You have bypass, you have XSS, you have DOS, you have memory corruption. Exploit database itself mentions 2014 exploits. You have a Flash exploitation database where you can find a lot of Flash related products. And I will not ask how many of you use Facebook, but how many of you play online games? Flash games? Okay. This is a favorite of many of people.
Yeah, it's outdated now. Yeah.
So there are lots of Flash games online, so you just cannot say that Flash has gone away. Even Facebook is having this game, Flash, again Flash. The thing is, it will exist as long as browsers support it, as long as it is installed in systems, as long as devices are using it. There was just a lot of news created because iOS is not using Flash and we are moving towards HTML5. A lot of news was created, but this is still exists. The problem is majority of the attacks are due to programming flaws. Okay, what are the concerns in Flash security? JavaScript execution is possible. You can force HTTP headers. You can exploit a cross-domain policy configuration. You can use a combination of clickjacking and Flash and hijack the camera. I have some of the demos over here which I will be showing it to you. You can execute external Flash movies. And the easiest one is you can decompile Flash very easily. So what are the general vulnerabilities in Flash? We have cross-site scripting, we have those unsafe functions which are called PDNF, potentially dangerous negative functions, cross-site flashing, abusing HTTP headers, cross-domain policies, decompilation. We have some server-side vulnerabilities as well. It's not only client-side. So if there is a Flash application communicating with a server and requires some backend services, it uses a protocol called action script message format, which is a sort of RPC call, something like your web services, something like that sort of the backend. So you can always inject the interceptor web traffic, inject into the AMF format using Charles proxy Bob or anything and do your regular injection. So decompiling Flash. The reason it's easily decompilable because essentially files are interpreted by a virtual machine embedded in the player itself. So you have different decompilers available, free as well as commercial. Famous one is SQL Scan, the Flare, JPEX is a free one. SoThing is a beautiful decompiler, but it's commercial. You have a trial version, you can try it. Flash is again, Flash decompiler to Linux is again paid one. So you'll see a short demo on this. I would be using, I can use Flare and SQL Scan. I have many decompilers installed here, trial versions and some. So when you say I'm using Flare, Flare automatically has an option to give you an option in the context menu as decompile. So Flare works very well with ActionScript 2. With ActionScript 3 it fails. Let's see. It's created a file called sample.flr over there. Okay, so just open it, it's just a text file. You open it, decompiles it and gives you the code. Problem in Flash which had the first thing which developers used to do earlier, still they do it, they try to hard code some sensitive data into the file and they feel that this is not accessible by an attacker or a hacker. But you could easily decompile files like this and see the source code. What more can you do with compile and decompilation? The idea is, if you want to execute some attacks, some scripting attacks, you need to find some insecurities secure programming flaws into the program, into the SWF file. How would you do that? You need to decompile and read the code. In this code, if you see the function called getURL, and I'm using a global variable. When you say underscore root, it's a global variable. And underscore root.url. What does this code do is, I am able to initiate this URL from the query string, initiate to anything. So this variable is not redirecting to a malicious site using this file. So this is a free tool from HP called SWF scan. This is also a decompiler. You give the path of the SWF file either online or offline from a folder. It parses it, it decompiles it, shows you the code, prepares a report, finds out the vulnerabilities, gives you recommendations as well. So it's a good to start off thing, but as a pen tester, depending on automated tools is not a good option. You can go through it and manually verify it by looking into the code. So let's say if I take this file cam.swf and say get okay, so it has decompiled the file. So on the left hand side, it gives you the file name, the strings, the functions, whatever it's using. The right hand side, it has this code. And when you click on analyze, it will analyze the file for some basic low hanging fruits or vulnerabilities. And it creates a report as well. Now on the left hand side, if you see, you have a vulnerability called enable debugger 2, and go into the source code. So the enable debugger 2 you don't see in the source code. It is actually there at the assembly level bytecode. There are tools called Flasm which you can further encode your high level language into assembly code, and then these are enabled debugger 2. So what is this tag actually? This is nothing but similar to your debug enabled in Android or any web application like .NET when debug is enabled. So you will be able to remotely debug the application, make changes to it, and in Flash this enable debugger is, I'm going by the recommendation, but it is true that it is having a weak password and all. You can hex edit it, and then you can brute force it using John the Ripper and have access to it. File using remote debug. This is one of the vulnerabilities. Then you have actions with source path disclosure. You click on that, go to the source code. It says that your source path is disclosed. Generally, from wherever the system you are programming the file is forgotten to remove the path or not remove it. So this is one sample of decompiler. One example of a decompiler, and we have used Flare also. So impact is nothing but it can be easily decompiled, analyzed, checking for insecure programming, hard-coded credentials, etc. What about the mitigation? Actually, this is not actually this is not applicable for decompilation, but it was generally written from this point of view that when you analyze a decompiled file, there could be some functions which do not have user sanitization, because of which you can take advantage of it and perform scripting attacks or any other malicious attack you perform. Avoid hard coding of data. Now there's something called as obfuscation, wherein you can it is sort of scrambling your code in different methods. Say, if I say where A is equal to 1, 2, 3, this is understandable. Whether you are an attacker or a developer, you are able to understand this code. But if I represent this as where A dot B equal to C, this is a sort of understanding by the obfuscator that this A dot B equal to C is actually A equal to 1, 2, 3. But the attacker will find it difficult to comprehend the code. So he would try to use a T obfuscator to get it back to this form again to understand the working of the code. It is very easy to deobfuscate the code. It is just a difference, as I mentioned. So you may use ready-made deobfuscators or your custom ones. So it's just making it difficult for the attacker, but not a foolproof solution.
Like SW scan, is it available now?
Yes, it's available. So let's move to cross-site scripting. As I said, all types of attacks which are available today is majorly due to insecure programming. And what happens here in XSS2 flash is flash SWF file, when it is embedded into an HTML page, it will have an access to the DOM of the page. And depending on the access policy defined, I'll come to that later. What is this access policy? How do you define it? The results could be devastating, because if an external HTML file has access to your page DOM, means the document object model, the body of the page, the structure which is having in the code, then it can make modifications to the page. It can include malicious code. It can change the look of it. So now let's see with this earlier example which we had decompiled using Flare, how do we actually do it? So this was the sample HTML file which we had decompiled. And as I told you that I have initialized a global root variable URL. So since it can be initialized to anything, I try my scripting attacks over there. So you see the page at victim.com says 1. So this is just a simple alert box. You can think of complex things. Okay, you can redirect this page to any malicious site, any other payloads. Yeah, you can use this with combination of these. So, as I've already discussed, global and root objects. Global is also again you can access define a global variable like underscore global dot name. There's something called flashwares. Flashwares is nothing when you define your SWF file, you embed it into the web page. There are some variables which you expect the user to be putting input from the input would be coming from the web page. So it's nothing, the same thing. Injection in HTML text fields. In Flash, you can make forms. If your forms are not again sanitized, again you have the same kind of attacks. Unsafe methods. There are some unsafe methods in AS2 which I will be discussing. So what is the problem? If variables are undefined, they can be initialized from the query stream. Usage of insecure functions, unsanitized input. Okay. Now there are different types of payloads which work with some functions, which don't work with others, depending on browsers also, depending on Flash players also. Now what earlier used to happen, here all these unsafe functions which I am referring to is, these are the unsafe functions. Get URL, load movie now, load res. Why? Because they are using the URL property .url which you can initialize from the browser. So you can also create a payload like this. Like in Flash, the raw file is called .fla, but you have an action script file also called .as, similar to something like .js. So you have action script functions defined in it, which you're potentially doing some unsafe functions which I showed you just now. These are action script functions. So say this particular format of payload, as function get URL JavaScript import, does not work on each and every unsafe function. Like if you can use here get URL, you can also use load movie. You can also use any of the unsafe functions which I mentioned there. But nowadays it works only in HTML text fields. Earlier in player version R47 something, it used to work for all the unsafe functions in that. Now it works only in HTML text fields. So coming to cross-site flashing, what can you think of if your SWF file is able to call or it's allowing to load an external SWF file? Implications, complications, impact? Okay. Correct. So I have a HTML file on victim.com. Okay. And so let's take it like this. There is an SWF file. It is allowing to load an external SWF file. So as you said, you can do malicious, you can do mutate the file. You can allow the external SWF file to supersede the current SWF file and create a phishing page. Say if there is a form, you call an external file and supersede over it. The innocent user would be thinking is typing the credentials in the correct form. So phishing, spoofing, all those comes into place when cross-site flashing is possible. So what are the vulnerable functions? Mainly one of them is load movie, very famous one. As we discussed, attack leads to phishing loads or loading malicious files. Mitigation. Again, initializing variables, sanitizing user input. Number 2, using strict cross-domain policy files. I'm coming towards an explanation of this. We will show how to exploit the misconfiguration of an cross-domain file. And if not required, don't allow an external SWF to be run as level 0. Okay. What do I mean with this recommendation is, when you're using a load movie function, you have load movie where num bracket, you give the target path of the SWF, comma, when you say underscore level 0, this is a root video which will play on the top. Okay. So the moment you do that, you're screwing up yourself. You're allowing some external SWF file to sit on top of your file. And once that is done, finish, attacker can allow, you have given access to an external SWF file to an SWF file on another domain. And there is also, depending on the cross-domain access policies also, if it is weak enough, it would be a powerful attack. So what you can do is, don't allow the external to be defined as underscore level 0, but it could be a child node under the main movie clip inside it. So let's see a demo on this. My dongle. Connect to it. It's already connected. Connected to iPad? My dongle is already connected. So this is a vulnerable cross-site flashing example available on the testfire.net. Now there are very different kinds of functions which are vulnerable, as I told you in AS function 2. Not all of them work because the code is really not written properly, it's an incomplete code. So say if I try load movie, loads it from external domain SWF file. So it's the same thing which I was trying to explain you. What could be the implications? Now there is load movie none, which allows you to change the level 0, as I said, level 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I have already spoken about dangerous functions. You can also abuse HTTP headers using Flash. I don't have a demo over here, but this is how you create the request, get request, post request. There is this attack known as expect header accesses, which is to work on Apache. It works on version 2, 1.3 and all. So if you want to do an attack of accesses on a header injection, you can use Flash, create forced headers like this, and send the request like expect script header 1 script or something, whatever you feel like. So using Flash, you can also force HTTP headers and send arbitrary requests. Coming to cross-domain access policy files. So a cross-domain file policy looks exactly like this. What you can see over here, the more important thing is allow access from domain. He has defined it over here. And he wants it to be accessed from an HTTPS domain. So he says secure equal to true. So then allow access from domain star.example.com. Any other domain inside example.com will be able to access the content of this. This is actually a sample good enough cross-domain file. So anything wrong with this file? I have written good, but do you find anything wrong? Fine? Yeah, it's a good one. Go to the bad one. Observe there that allow access from domain asterisk. So we are now going to see how to exploit this. Here, consider this scenario. User A is logged into abc.com and he visits def.com. There is a malicious SWF file waiting there. He serves it. What happens is this file is reading all contents from this abc.com. This abc.com could be any sensitive website, any bank or something. If it's able to cross the domain and access data on your bank site, so all sensitive data I am able to read. Just because the cross-domain policy file is misconfigured and an asterisk wildcard has been put. You need to put a proper domain. This domain should be able to access it. So let's see the demo. These are some other attributes like allow script access. This is also a parameter. Should you allow the script access or not? Do not use asterisks once again. The code. Then there is something called local connection. used for inter-process communication. So local connection dot allow domain browser to network communication. You should not allow asterisks over there again. Security dot allow domain. Normally SWF file loaded from a.com cannot access the variable object properties from b.com. So we have this function called security.allow domain, which can help you to bypass this, but it's always a bad idea. You want to put asterisks over there one side. So let's see a demo. This is my victim. Okay, he is logged in into his application. He's currently logged in, and this is the attacker machine. Now there is a file called xdomain exploit.es, which is actually doing the reading task. So let's open it and see. So the first few lines is nothing but the libraries which I am calling. If you carefully look at the exploit domain 2 class, here I am reading the victim.com user registration page. Okay, and I am requesting the header. I want these all data: username, password, last name, password, again password. If something that sort of is there on that page, I'll get it. Otherwise, I'll get the whole page content, the internal page which he has logged inside it. If I'm able to read it, game over. Means I can access any data, I can modify anything, I can run remotely, add users remotely. Provided the cross-domain policy file has an asterisk, loosely configured, deeply configured, I can do it. So when you go down, this is what is this file doing is reading the data, capturing it, and sending it to my server, my attacker server. Over here, I have a cache.php which will cache the contents. So this is the cache.php. It will cache the contents, whatever input is there, and in temp it will create a sensitive.txt file. Whatever data I have from that domain, I will be able to access it. So let's go to the victim server. And check the cross-domain policy file. Okay, right now it says allow access from domain star. So my attack should work actually. So let's go and check. So what will the victim? I will force the victim to force or lure or attract the victim to go and hit this link. Okay, this is my attacker server. I have my exploit code here. I have the cache. So I have created an HTML page embedding the SWF into it. This is my HTML page. On the fly, it will create a dummy. It will contact the SWF file. The SWF file will read the contents. Okay. So I will make the victim surf this page. Yeah. Okay. So let's hit the page. Now go to the attacker machine. Now I've asked it to save it in the temp file. We have a file called sensitive.txt which has been created by the capture.php. Okay. It reads the complete page, internal page. So what has happened? your cross-domain policy file has an asterisk, because of which any domain having a SQL file can read the data from your domain. So I have this internal page which I am logged in. So you can see username, passwords, okay fine. Whatever pages are it's showing, in case it has a sensitive page or a sensitive bank account something, it will give you all details. Now let me just remove this file. I'll remove the sensitive file. Okay, I'll go to my victim. And I will remove this asterisk and put HTTP. You can put anything over there and save it. Now since my attacker is attacker.com, victim is victim.com. The victim is saying I will only allow you to access my data from abc.com. Attacker.com is not abc.com, so he should not be able to read the file and create that sensitive.txt. So if the victim again serves the page, again I hit the page. No sensitive topics. So did you understand the importance of cross-domain policy.xml file? How you can manipulate data crossing from one domain to other, how you can stop. So your Sara khel, sorry, it's using Hindi. When we say hamla is also Hindi. Sara khel wo asterisk ka hai. Everything would be done with that. So let's back to our presentation. This was about cross-domain. Next is interesting one, camjacking. Okay, when I was performing the demo, I taken a screenshot of this. Okay. What is happening is there's an attack called clickjacking, wherein if the server is not having some protections such as extreme options in their headers, or they don't have anti-bursting methods to break, whatever, if you're trying to create an iframe on a page, and if you're able to create it on the top of the image, original image, that is the best time you have a chance of doing iframe injection and performing the clickjacking. So you create an iframe, reduce the transparency to 0, and when the user sees the page, he does not see actually the iframe or the invisible opacity thing. He will also only see the image. So what I do, I put a button over here. I just kept the opacity as 0.5 so that you can see what I am doing actually. Using clickjacking plus flash, I call it flash jacking. So using flash, I will hijack the user's camera. So when you click, when an application is asking for access to the camera, there is a camera control box in the global security settings of flash. Okay, so I call that inside my cam.swf file. Okay, I create an iframe inside that file. I reduce the opacity. How? This is my HTML file in which this HTML file has been embedded. I have reduced the opacity to 0.0, embedded in the cam.swf file. Now the user will not be able to see this. I show you the actual file. Look at this. See, I am very decent, so I am giving you both photographs. Attacker will not do that. You understand what you want to do. So you have different photographs. Now the innocent user wants to see videos, beautiful photographs of actors, actresses. You will click there. So the moment he clicks here, right now sadly the demo is not working. That's why I had to put a screenshot on the PPT. When you click here, the camera on your laptop, there is a small light LED. It blinks for a second. If you don't see that, what can happen? In Mumbai, there was a cybercrime case wherein a lady was maybe changing in her room. The webcam got hijacked through a Trojan or through Flash, I don't know how. And those pictures got posted on some other Picasa, I don't know, somewhere else. So this POC had just taking pictures. Right now it's not working. My driver just stopped working today morning. Otherwise I would have taken your picture and showed it on the field. So what you can do is when you click on a flash file, it asks for permission. Do you want to access the camera or not? In Chrome nowadays, if you see, you get a bar on the top. Allow, deny. When you say allow, that IP is added into your global security box of Flash. Okay, so it remembers that you have allowed it. So if it is a site which is malicious or has been infected, and if you've forgotten it, it will always have access to your cam. So in that case, it becomes a problem. So for non-techie guys, if you don't understand, just put a tape on the camera.
Many people do that.
Don't change clothes like this, opening up the camera and then you do it, because be careful, close it or put a tape on the camera. The least possible you can do it.
How come on?
It would have been fun if this was working. Just now the driver stopped working, so I can't help it. So that's it. Thank you. If you have any questions, any feedback?
This now camjacking you said. So it sends a stream out to the attacker, is it?
It captures your live photo. And in the POC, it's been edited. I'm not saving it on any server. It also is able to save. This POC was developed by, there was a Twitter handle called Rabbit. Okay, he was the original person who made a POC on it. Then Omakov, right? Omakov had prepared a full-blown POC on this to access it. It's there online. I cannot show you because the pictures are very beautiful. Cannot show you. So it works online, but here the driver there is a problem. That's why it's not working. So you capture the picture and then you send it to the server.
The brief has a module for this. So what happens is it takes the picture, does a base 64 encoding on the image and sends it back to the attacker. Okay, so the attacker, what he has to do is he has to basically decode it and then he can give the image as
Okay, thank you.
Okay guys, visible? Yeah, a couple of announcements first. Android Hamla is on 21st, and please register. The registration last date is 16th June 11:59 p.m. And we will shortlist candidates according to the response they have done to the form, and they will be informed by 18th June morning. Okay, and one more announcement. Metasploit Hamla is on 28th June, and announcement is going live now. We are in the process. I was doing that, so you can go back and register for that as well. That will be registration will be open till 23rd June. Okay, so let's take feedback. specific feedback and also discuss next month's session. So, guys, any specific feedback? Who all are here for the first time? Any feedback from you guys? Sorry. Okay. How do you like it? Like venue and directions and presentations. What topic you would like to have next time? Okay. Taking feedback. Anything else? No, actually today something happened that I had put directions for that venue, the building 1, but immediately it got changed. Like today morning I came to know it got changed, so I didn't get time to update that.
Even there were no stickers on the front. There was something else.
The sticker I tried to put that, but I know today it happened. We'll take care of it. Okay. Anything else? You are looking for feedback. So earlier we used to have like one by one feedback. Everybody used to give feedback, but now we are voluntarily requesting like voluntarily for feedback so that we can
First,
improve.
don't you like finish this and then do that?
Yeah.
Anyways,
No.
It works like feedback can also include what session you want to have next time, next month. So, can it be reverse engineering, like 45-minute session you want? Any volunteers? Hands-on? Hands-on like Hamla? 6 hours. Who is a reverse engineering expert here? Reverse engineering.
Not now, I'll give later.
Next month, not now. I'm not telling now. So first of all, next month's date. So we have a Saturday on 12th. We have a Saturday on 19th. Any holidays during that time? Holidays. Akash, we are deciding the date.
We'll have it on 29th is again, 29th is Ramzan. I think many people might go in.
26th.
26th is too late, man.
26th is too late.
19 is in between.
Everybody okay with 19th? Okay. So this time what happened? One OWASP talk was there, but Anand could not make it to the.
Yeah, so if he's not there, we're not adding the talk.
But next month he called me and asked me to add it to the next month because he was prepared, but he could not come due to some personal emergency.
The point is, if he's not there next month, who will take responsibility for it? Let's have a simple rule for everyone. No? Why?
Let's see if 5 talks come up, then I'll talk to him separately.
I don't think we should have it if he's not there.
Okay, let me remove it for now. And beginners talk, like then OWASP Mobile Top 10 was the series going on as a beginners talk. Who's going to take that?
Have to be that.
Could be anything. What do you want to learn? Beginners, first time OWASP come. What do you want to learn? The way we go about deciding next month's talk
How
is
many
like
of you said this is your first meet and you're starting to learn about security? Raise your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Everyone else is an expert? Who is not an expert? Raise your hand. Please suggest a topic. But that can't really be a beginner topic. That's an architecture level thing, right? It's talking about how SQL happens, how class happens.
So that is how
This is like a beginner thing where you do some hands-on or do a demo.
And before the developer team, somebody wants to say there is always you want to figure out the not say that somebody can take it.
I can take it, but not as a beginner talk.
Okay, that's an advanced.
So we can have it as
What
another
date
one.
is 19th July.
Available. Because people are always confused on where do we start. That's where the so that's probably the
It's actually abandoned by the people who created the project. Not updated since 2009. It's a good thing to start with, but the people who originally started the project are not updating it. But we can cover that. But beginner talk first.
what do you want to
Everybody know everything here?
so what about the growth?
Web code.
can do it on the code. The code needs to be covered 1 hour session. Can do it.
Okay.
So
Web code
beginners is,
30 minutes.
No, beginners is 45.
It's
Nice.
okay, we can have a 1 hour thing. It's 15
Yeah.
minutes.
Yeah.
Let's not be rigid about that. We're learning. Everyone will not take a break that session. It's okay, right? You get something, you give something back in return.
Mobile number
Give and take.
97393
97393
678
678
99.
99. Email
Mohan@hotmail.com.
Twitter. Do you use Twitter?
Okay, I don't tweet so no online.
Okay.
If you have a handle, we'll tweet about you.
We can cover webcode or webcode.net.
Both.
Because that's again another abandoned project.
Yeah, .NET.
While webcode.net is the newer project.
Webcode.net.
If he does webcode, that's for Java. Webcode.net is for .NET. What would you prefer? This is your chance.
Web code. Java.
Java or .NET? Do Java.
Anyway, tell your handle.
Jagan Jasti. JAGN. I don't have a very fancy name, but
Not required. That's your name.
yeah, that's my name. Already.
Okay. Next. So Akash, you want to take that talk?
So that's a theory talk. So
Yeah,
that'll be like
one theory, like two theory, two demo we have, right?
CLASP.
It's an acronym, right? I'm putting it caps.
I need at least
Phone
45
number.
minutes.
Hmm?
I need 45 minutes.
Yes. Phone number.
99805
Yes.
271
271
82
82.
aka@null.co. Oh, actually, it's akash.mahajan@OWASP.org. Please change it.
Are you sure?
Yes, sir.
Just put it as partner, take it in 2 sessions because 45 minutes covering all the top and vulnerabilities.
That's fine. So you choose that as a person.
At OWASP.org. Twitter.
OWASP Bangalore.
So how many people are giving this talk?
That's good.
What do you use a group handle?
So normally I want to tell people about the event. What is a group handle? We have to get it.
So second topic is generally the news by security news bites. So do you want to continue that next month? What we do is whoever has come for the first time, we request them to present the news bite next time.
No. It's not who's come for the first time. It's someone who's never presented.
Someone who has never presented.
So pick someone who's never presented but has been coming here for more than one time. I think I heard someone. Where is she? Yes.
I might not be here next week. I'm traveling also.
Okay. Is Is there anyone else you know who's like that here? Who's come here multiple times but has never presented? Anyone else who's come multiple times has never presented?
This guy.
Okay, good. Yes, right.
Spelling mistake, please correct.
It's also combined with little bit videos.
Phone number?
7676.
Videos?
Videos usually don't work well. No?
78.
They don't take too much time.
8625.
Twitter? You have?
Students are going to add their details.
I mean, for the views by zero videos, right? Not
Yeah.
the first one.
No. Use by.
Your Twitter handle? So this is 30 minutes. Next, tool demo. Which you want to give? On which tool? Multi. WebGoat and Multigo on the same day.
I think that's not like. Yeah,
Open source
it's
is
different.
no Multigo is Multigo is open source. Yeah.
There is something.
Social engineering.
No, I will use the click on community version and
Rather like the community version is like very limited compared to the version.
I have my own bypasses. Work around. And that is good.
Phone number.
7986 10456. Version that was identity. UI. GUI.
Twitter.
Dude, you should get that same Twitter handle. So awesome. What happens?
Register now.
Okay. Last theory or tool demo. Can be anything. What do you want to learn? You come to learn.
Speak up. This is your chance to get your choice of topic.
Yeah.
This is not college, right? There is no structured courseware. If they don't want to learn anything,
We are
you
going
can
to.
finish early and go to Satyavara early.
Yeah.
Really got fantastic.
We are going to move beef for a hamla. Are you okay with that, Prashant?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can do that.
And let's have something new. Like, what do you want to
IDOC
do?
Pro.
Some pen testing of.
WebGoat is
I can suggest,
fantastic.
but please don't tell me only that.
Yeah. Suggest, please suggest.
Yeah. Look on.
Wait.
Yeah.
It's a demo app.
Windows?
Windows application.
Windows 8 app pen testing.
Windows mobile application.
Mobile, Windows 8 mobile app pen testing.
Nice. Who's taking that?
Who's taking that? I want
Oh,
to.
yeah.
Whoa.
Actually, we are going to how to set up a whole tab and how we dynamically set it so many features.
Hey, please give me 10 minutes less and give me 10 minutes.
Go.
इसको चाहिए होगा ना?
Let's do a hamla
Huh?
after that.
Let him do the talk, man.
Ah.
Let's see the response.
Anand Tiwari.
Twitter has already taken. Yeah, I was checking.
Anand Tiwari CS at the
No, phone number.
9036 9036 Be creative with data. Local source awareness. Anand Tiwari CS at the
Twitter.
Anand Tiwari CS.
Available.
Change you to A. Yeah, it's available.
Okay, so we have the list of talk for next month. Any specific feedback? This is your chance. Like, please.
Please
You want
give these guys to
You want us to improve
make
something?
it
You want us to add
much
something?
more better.
Yeah. You want us to better something? Okay.
Obviously, more to next time, I will outright.
Anything else specific? That's it. Akash, anything from your side?
Encourage people to listen. Did you like the session? Did you not like the session? Nobody liked the session?
I thought I'll have a lot of feedback for my session.
We don't like
Get more RAM.
Again.
and get hands-on on Mac.
Actionable feedback.
At least
Buy
try to
a
use someone
Mac.
else's Mac.
Buy a Mac. No, no
Mac VM
publicity.
is not the same as
Huh?
Mac VM is not the same as a book. Mac VM you can access the stuff like the gestures and all.
The gestures and all you can do. Okay then. Have a nice day. See you
Hey,
next
one,
month. Yeah.
Anybody interested in doing a good presentation, PowerPoint, you can take my help. I will help in basically soft skills. How to do a good presentation. How it has to. Sure. Get in touch with me, hkgsatish@gmail.com. Put some basic content and then send it to me. I'll just help you make it better.
Okay, about the video streaming and the recording thing. If someone can sponsor in the sense if you can bring your DSLR Canon camera, then it will be really nice.
Has to be a Canon.
Yes, it has to be a Canon.
Canon, you have Canon, right? So next week we are coming, right?
So I have a tripod.
It's a
Can I-
basic Canon DSLR. That's fine.
Yes. Because Canon has this remote control facility that you can, you can control the camera from your laptop if you connect it through USB. So that doesn't work for other cameras. Thank you.
Thank you guys.